out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Hello, Tim.
Hi, Ryan.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to Dismembering Horror, the podcast show where myself, Ryan McDuffie,
And myself, Tim Aslin.
we discuss, aka dismember, a horror film every week.
Every week.
Every Thursday. You can hear us fresh and alive, straight from us to you.
So fresh.
And to dismember a horror film, what does that mean? We talk about what worked for us, what did not work for us, and anything we found interesting or noteworthy about a horror film that we've been wanting to see that was recommended to us. We're hoping to see the unseen here, talk about the non-discussed, and today I believe we have reached, yes, this is episode 80 of Dismembering Horror.
Yee!
Exactly. New set of tens, whatever you call it. We're in the 80s now, Tim.
We're octopodcastarians.
Yeah, precisely. Excited to see what they hold for us, the 80s. But the first of the 80s, as in episode 80, which today's episode is, brought us Demon Wind.
Oh, that's right. That's
today's
Demon
episode.
Wind. Demon Wind.
I'm tired.
Yep.
I'm tired.
Yep. How about this one? Yep. How about this one? How about this one?
What are you doing?
I'm creating some demon wind here.
Oh.
What about this one? Oh, that's just a flush.
Yeah, Tim, you're playing.
How about this one? Okay, so we found one that, in my opinion, kind of is fitting for this movie.
Was that the baby sounds?
God.
It didn't make any sense. That was really confusing.
I hope it was even more confusing for whoever's listening.
Well, I suppose...
Just a barrage of random sounds.
Which is what this film was.
Yeah. Like... confusing barely scratches the surface for
Confounding.
me. Yes, exactly. Confounding is so accurate.
Well, what are we talking about? Let's watch the trailer. That will help us delve into this film.
Yeah, yep. High cinema.
Known as Demon Wind.
60 years ago, an entire family vanished without a trace. Now one young man must face the demon wind.
How do we get to the Carter place from here?
You can't?
I think something bizarre has been going on at that farm for a long time. I'm gonna find out what.
It's a gateway to hell, and there's no turning back.
Nu protesta Santana vivet.
What did it say? It said, now Satan shall walk.
Please, boy, don't go up there. I have to.
You can't leave. You're mine.
It's an altar to the devil.
No, it really is.
So, how would you rate
Wow.
Demon Wind? Would you tell yourself to avoid it, stream it, rent it, or buy it?
You know, as much as I think this movie is just dog shit, it's pretty fun. It's so stupid that I could see you just getting on board with it's insane and makes no sense, and the characters are completely ridiculous, and they do things that no human would ever do. And so if you just get on board with that, the stupidity of it, I think, maybe stupidity is not the exact right word, but just the ridiculous nonsense of it.
The lack of the inner logic, which equals a lack of any logic.
There's no logic. I mean, it's just like, yeah. So I would stream it like, maybe in another one of my imaginary parties that I'll never have.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. I could see getting like pretty baked with like 5 or 6 friends and just it being a fucking good time. Just a raucous, like, it's so stupid.
Maybe, so I give it a rent it because I think that might be my default just without having to literally get baked, as you put it. But I mean, as far as films that we've watched that I've just had fun watching you with, like, it's pretty up there.
Yeah. There were times, I think my problem is that at a certain point I was like, it's just droning on with stupidity. And that's where my limit is.
So I think I might have added this to the list because I saw there's a Slash Film write-up. The best, worst, and craziest horror movie you've never seen is now streaming. Shudder was the one to kind of put it on. So I wouldn't give it like that high kind of bad, good movie praise. But nor was it just sort of like where I get confounded and mad in a bad way with it. It was kind of an in-between for me.
Yeah, I never got mad so much as I was just confounded. I kept saying, what the fuck is going on?
Why this is honestly, though, a pretty high rent it. Just as far as... we'll spit out his coffee there.
Close.
This is kind of like when we watched, I'm sure this happened with other ones, but this is jumping out to me right now when we watched Planet of the Vampires. And we kind of agreed to like all the bad parts about it, but you were like, you know what though, when it comes down to it, just the mood and the look and like what it means and represents, I'm just into it. I really like it. Yeah. And so that is this for me, something that is even more kind of ineffable to try to tune into. And the only way I can kind of try to define whatever this sub genre is by giving other examples. But it's something that me and my good friend Ramsey always try to like seek out and is our favorite thing to kind of discover together. Very specific type of film. It feels like the height of them is, horror films, but the height of them, I want to say the sweet spot is like 88 to 92. You can give or take a few years, whatever. Mm-hmm. But movies like Dolls, Society, The First Troll, Ghoulies 2.
Yes.
They have just enough of a budget to just sort of give it like it feels like it almost should be a Hollywood film, but at the same time,
but they saved a lot of money on the actors.
Yeah, exactly. That's often it. They'll often have like some sort of fantastical element on top of the horror. But I think what I love about that, and I wish I could figure out a better way to define them, but I think the sort of unifying thing to them that brings me back and why I just, want to put this as high as a rent is like, there's just so fascinating when you approach it as like, what world are these filmmakers living in?
That really is, to me, the ultimate question.
Yeah.
Like what is their fucking mindset going in?
Well, and
because it could be so many different things.
But your window into it is you're seeing how they see the world via how they see films themselves. Right. It's not even so much like the stuff that's put on screen is representative of their immediate worldview. No. But what they're putting up on screen is their view of what movies should be. Right. And then that's telling you about them. What do they pay more attention to? What do they pay less attention to? What are they just blatantly stealing? How do they fill in or not fill in the gaps? Like, how do they, what characters, how they talk, like all those things.
Yeah. Well, and did you said Dolls, right?
Yes.
Well, Dolly Dearest has very similar things too.
So Dolly Dearest, I almost put down, but I felt that it's close. It's in there. It's good. But it felt like it didn't have quite the level of...
Too much made for TV sort of vibe?
Yeah.
I get that, yeah. Man. I don't know. It's schlock, right? Like, it is schlock, and there is good schlock, and there's bad schlock.
This does have what you enjoyed, though. Like, part of the flavor I'm trying to get is the style that it is.
Yeah.
all that. Or, sorry, I should say the style, like, of the, meaning like the fashion at the time.
Yes.
All that it's a time capsule for.
It is. It really is. It's borderline the stuff-ish, but the stuff is like next level.
Yeah.
Like there is a viewpoint that the director has in the stuff that is very, like, I think specific. And this doesn't have that. That's why I think it's confusing.
Yeah.
It's because it's like, what is the fucking viewpoint? Like, where, like, my big thing is, in this type of movie, does the director think they're being funny? Or are they trying to be serious? Or is it some middling thing?
I feel like I've said this before, and they aren't even thinking in those terms.
Right. Well,
They're thinking, this is a movie, and this is what you do.
Yeah.
And it looks like a movie, and here we are.
Okay.
Shoot it.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, so enough from all that. You could gauge why maybe I'm a rent it.
I don't even know what to say.
Well, we start with our summary. And to start us off, I think this is pretty telling. It was really funny, the Wikipedia for it, like the very, very first, not even before the synopsis, but like the single sentence synopsis.
Sure.
It's so telling. It's just like they sort of, not even flipped a coin, but just like, when you have more than two sides to pick, what is it? They just, like, there's so many ways you could have summarized this film. You still would have been missing, most of it.
Sure.
So,
because there's no like actual cohesive thread. Well, the film is just throwing shit out there.
Yeah. So this is how they decide to sum it up. Whoever wrote this, the single sentence summary. And then Tim, how about I ask you to then fill in everything it's missing.
Okay. In one sentence?
Just similar summary wise.
Okay, yeah.
Well, to complete this summary, I would have to say, all right. So it says, the film concerns a group of friends who travel to an old farm and soon find they can't leave as a mysterious fog sets in.
Wow. We're just scratching the surface here.
Yeah.
Okay. So where do you even begin? That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. That's like the least of the fucking like story points.
Yeah.
So the film also concerns okay. Eric Larson is the actor. Sorry, Corey. So Corey. Okay, so there's a dude, Corey, and his dad has been kind of like a fucking recluse for many, many years out in the countryside, I guess. And Corey has gone to pay him a visit with his girlfriend, Elaine. And we meet Corey after the visit, and he's a bit shaken up by it, but he's determined to go to the family farm where his dad was born. He's just compelled. And he decides, as our first summary said, to invite 8 other friends.
Who all willingly,
right?
Excitedly join along.
Yeah. So they all meet up at a gas station that's literally on the side of a dirt road in the middle of fucking a field. And Harcourt, it's Harcourt's Cafe and Gas. He's an old dude he's actually not that old, but we'll get to that later.
He is the old man character archetype.
Exactly. And he is determined to warn them repeatedly, like 7 or 8 times, not to go to the Carter farm, which is where Corey was trying to get to. And then they go anyway. Now, Corey's friends. Let's describe Corey's friends real quick, just to give you a little flavor of what's going on. his girlfriend, who starts off being sort of like, she seems kind of like bitchy and like pissed off, but she's actually totally cool. So it's a weird like introduction to her because she's like, why aren't you paying attention to me? And it's like, and then she's like super fun and nice and like cool and actually kind of a badass in a lot of the movies. So
as soon as he reveals that it's because his dad committed suicide.
Right. So he had like kept this from her for the last couple hours.
Yeah.
Which I guess, sure, fine, whatever. His dad had cut his own wrists soon after Corey like met with him, I guess. Anyway, so Elaine she's actually pretty cool. She's, blonde and sort of, I don't know, she's blonde and kind of cool and like up for it, and she's super in love with Corey. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, so then we meet a quartet of friends. They're the ones who show up first at the cafe. We've got Dell, who is like basically just a cardboard cutout of like a muscle-bound blonde Ken doll.
Yeah, 80s jock bully type.
We've got Terry, I believe, his girlfriend, who is like kind of Velma-y. Scooby-Doo Velma-y. She doesn't say much. She's just sort of Dell's girl. And then, what was the Stacy, right? Stacy, I think, is the
Stacy and Chuck, was it?
Who's the glasses guy? Jack. Jack is the glasses guy. So we've also got Jack, and then we've also got Bonnie. Yeah. So Jack and Bonnie, they're kind of just like, I don't know, Jack's got a fucking rad rat tail.
Had a little earring.
Yeah, a little earring, and he's got really big 90s, like, round glasses. And he's in brown. Terry is in red. Dell is in blue. Bonnie is in pink. Elaine is in green. And Corey is in sort of dark green.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll fill out the color palette as we go along. So they're all whatever. They're just like, hey man, why'd you ask us to come out here?
Never said.
Yeah. They just like show up and they're sort of like, so what's up? Mm-hmm. Which is a little odd. And then Harcourt warns them a couple more times and pulls a gun on Dell for sort of just because Dell's being a dick. And then we get the magician,
Chuck and Stacy,
who are completely out of control. Like they're just, I guess Chuck is sort of a James Deany wannabe, kinda, but he's wearing a navy blue trench coat. So we've got the sort of indigo part of the rainbow.
Stacy is our magician.
He's full force magician,
kung fu magician.
Yeah, he kung fu's a beer can in the air.
Well, they come rolling up. They're in the convertible, and he's like, standing up inside of it.
A speaker, like a loudspeaker.
He has that black and red lined cape.
That's right, white gloves.
Makes a rabbit appear, makes a dove appear.
Oh man, he's full on.
How do we?
Okay, let's move along. So okay, anyway, so he's a cool guy. Karate's a beer can, and then. Okay, so they all get on board with Corey. He's like, we're going to the farm. Harcourt's like, don't do it. And he's like, fuck you, we're doing it. So they go and they come upon a ruined sort of couple walls of an old stone house, I guess, or whatever. And there's a fucking crucifix out front with a skeleton still attached to it. Now, mind you, in the opening scene from 1931, we've gotten this like long drawn out thing of a woman inside that house when it's not destroyed. And she's barricaded herself in, and she's got like spells and incantations going on the floor. And then she starts saying, oh no, the wind, and her husband becomes a sort of demon. It's like, and attacks her.
Well, he's half transformed to what we'll come to know as their full transformation demon.
Right. So, and then she says a thing about, you know, if I drop this snow globe with the house in it, you know what'll happen.
We both go.
We both go. And then she drops it because he eats her head or neck. And then they all explode.
Yeah, and they're Corey's grandparents?
Yes. Okay, so we get to that house with Corey and the gang, and they're like, whoa, trippy, and there's skeletons, and there's a skull on the ground, and Corey magically knows that it's his dad's brother that's one of the skulls through some cool animated lightning that goes into his fingers. And then we get to sort of the more confounding stuff, which is the front door of this house. If you look into the ruins, in through the front door, you see the preserved house. Like, it's still there. But if you walk around the ruins, it's not. So there's some sort of gateway. And they decide to go in, and all hell sort of starts to break loose, right? Like, the house, fucking erupts kind of and shakes, and like they all run outside, and then there's like 3 little girls that appear, and then Bonnie gets turned into a baby doll and then blows up and is dead. And like, I mean, it's just, I could just go down the line of, it's just stuff happening that is seemingly unconnected.
Well,
so what is the connective thread here?
So more or less, though, what happens is they turn into and are attacked by kind of a, I guess, risen from the dead demon zombies or something.
Yes. And I think the key element is that in the barn is a like altar to Satan.
Okay.
That I think is, it's not like, it's unfortunately not kind of focused or leaned on. You get kind of one scene that like shows it, and then that's it, which,
yeah.
But I think that's the crux of it, essentially, is that somebody on the farm before Corey's grandparents moved there were worshiping Satan, and they incanted or something Satan a demon to open a portal, and now he's sort of been laying in wait. He's the demon wind.
Yeah.
He's been laying in wait on the farm for more victims.
And then,
or for them to reopen the portal, I guess. I guess when they blew up the house, they closed the portal.
I don't know, man.
I mean, no shit. Me neither.
Anyway, to finish up the summary, they're all stuck there because when they try to escape, fog just puts them back where they're going. All their car batteries are dead. But then it just sort of like...
More friends show up at one point.
And so anyway, they just either...
Willie and Rena.
They turn into demons or are killed by demons until it builds to one final fracas with a king demon, I guess we'll call him. And then...
And Corey says a spell and turns into an alien.
Yep, and then...
like, what the fuck?
They both... And then Corey and Elaine, the main couple, they make it to the end. Great. All right. Should we get into it? What worked?
Yeah.
Okay. What worked?
What worked for you? What worked for you?
It worked like a charm, Smith.
What worked? What worked for you?
Well, okay, Tim, this will cover a lot, but to start off with, and kind of, how we already said, it's kind of like they took the kitchen sink approach as far as when you reference like other films, it's kind of taking things from, because it's like the zombie movie, it's got the Evil Dead possession angle, it's even got like the fog, it's got this more specific Satan demon stuff going on in it, it has like the cabin in the woods thing, kids getting killed off. You could go on, you know?
You can go on
as
endlessly.
A magic element to it.
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Like, it's just nonstop.
So this is what worked for me, Tim. That was worked. I put how like nothing made sense is what worked for me. Like, I love that. It was just, as I already said, it's fascinating. It's fun. It made it fun to watch with you, to get like, just have to be constantly confounded by it all. So just to go down the list here of some confounding things, maybe a lesser one. Tell me what you think. So when we first discover that, from the front of this wall of the barn, and he walks, you can see through it and it's full, but you walk around back and it's non-existent. What would it look like to the people looking in it if he were to have walked in back, so he was outside and then stepped through the doorway?
Right, he doesn't do that. They can't see him though.
Yeah.
Like he walks around to the back and they're like, Corey, where'd you go? And he's like, I'm right here.
Right.
But
Okay.
instead of walking, I agree. Instead of walking through to be like, whoa, what the fuck was that? He goes back around the wall. But like, it's like one of those things where this is why it's confounding, because that is one of those things where it's like, if they had him walk through, then they'd have to like make a rule.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, fuck that. Let's not make any rules.
And beautiful. Love it. Works for me.
And so I get it. It definitely, it works because it's like, don't make rules in this movie.
Yeah. So great. And then we move on. It's so funny how, as we already said, they keep showing up. So we have like 2 arrivals happen at the gas station, and they're each like, feels like, the cavalry's arrived kind of thing. And finally, we think they've all shown up, and like there's a half hour left in the movie, and finally one final couple shows up. Oh, it must be them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, great.
Yeah, they made it.
Like, okay, sure. And where were they even gonna all stay in this old barn? Like, did any of them bring food?
Did they? I think that they did bring food, because there's one scene where Elaine brings him a sandwich, but he scares her and she drops it on the floor. So
still, what under
unless in the magic cabin there's food.
Yeah. Under what pretenses did he invite them? We'll never know.
This was an interesting thought I had, because it harkens back to a more simple time. Imagine what went into getting them to come out there. Yeah. Right? He had to go, hey guys, I want to go to this thing, right? I want to go to this whatever fucking farm. It's here. It's you got to take this highway to this fucking back road and you got to go on this dirt road that's just 2 tire marks, like it's a nothing road, and it goes through hills endlessly for some amount of time. But don't worry, eventually you'll get to this gas station that, like, does he know that thing was there? It's not like he called them, right? Yeah. They don't have cell phones. So he had to describe all of this of how to get there to them, and then say, show up around the afternoon.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we'll see you there.
Except for the latecomers, whatever.
Right. Yeah, they got delayed. Maybe they took a wrong turn and it took them, 7 extra hours to fucking find where the fuck they were going. But the idea of that, like, it's such a simple time.
Especially hard for our cell phone minds to grasp. Yeah.
No GPS.
So then
nobody had a map out.
Just more what the heck moments going down that I loved. Elaine, when they show up alone in the diner, just the couple, they presume it's empty, so then she takes off her pants to show the heart sewn in on her underwear.
Yeah.
All right.
What a rump.
All right.
And then they get caught.
Just because?
Yeah, because she's fun.
Mm-hmm. Little girls appear and turn, what's her face? Bonnie, into a doll. Then it talks, then explodes, and none of them seem to care.
They really, Bonnie 30 seconds earlier says to Jack, I got a bad feeling about this place. Like, I think something bad's going to happen. Just promise me that you won't, like, bury me here. And he's like, Jesus Christ, Bonnie, calm down. Mm-hmm. Like, nothing bad's going to happen. Even though they just went into a magic house that fucking started to shake and flip out. And they ran out of it to save their own lives. Like, everybody's just weird calm.
Especially after she dies by those means.
Yeah, and then she fucking baby doll morph explodes.
Yeah. Incredible. Love it. Works for me.
It is one of those sort of like age-old things in movies of just like, let's just keep moving along.
Yeah. So then we have just other like little things where it's what's great is you never know what's going to happen next as far as like these rules, because like you have when they're arriving, they drive by an egg in a tree that breaks and is filled with worms. Like, okay. And then at some point later on, a cow skull opens its mouth and shoots out its demon tentacle to strangle someone.
Yeah.
Then the big ending. So we have they're surrounded by demons, and then the old man from the beginning, he comes up to save the day. How does he save the day? So he sort of summons them to like encircle him, and then
he's wearing a priest's outfit.
So I guess since he disappears, he sacrifices himself not to defeat them, but to coalesce them into the super demon.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say. Yes, that's what happens.
Okay. Great. I loved it.
I don't have like a breakdown for you.
So then it would be easier to defeat him, I guess. So then it's a concentrated battle all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
That's confounding.
It's certainly he seems to save them, but doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. The super demon was especially the case where I just loved how the demon voices sounded. I can't even do it.
Oh, yeah. You cannot understand any of what they're saying.
Well,
so,
especially you could half understand it, like
the earlier guys?
guys. But then once it got to the super demon, I was understanding maybe like a third of it.
Oof, yeah, maybe.
But just the quality of the sound, Tim, like I love it. It just makes me want to like gargle and chew on it. Like to try to put it in that like, you know, what's the word for it? Combining senses.
Yeah.
Way.
It's pretty intense.
I just love how it sounds. And then that super demon too had goat legs, classic. That was cool.
Yeah.
And then so then we get like what we have to do is use the book to defeat the main big demon by reading a passage. Yet then also, they use it a little later just to simply shoot magic out of to kill the final demon at the gas station. Okay. The one part where the trench coat dude had him and a magician guy are like fighting everyone off, and like if they're doing great, you kind of think like they aren't running out of bullets and shooting does something cool, but then the dude has his throat slashed by like nothing.
Yeah, we never see. He just suddenly has gotten his throat slashed.
Yeah, but there's
literally nobody in front of him.
Like what? Great, incredible.
Maybe it was the wind. Maybe it was the demon wind.
You're right. It's the wind. And why does
any of it happen?
Yeah. Oh, like how about the you have limitless gun ammo, but then limited dagger usage.
Man,
like the daggers disappear, but they had all the ammo in the world. So like, and then also so shooting them, it seemed to kind of work. Like it would, they'd fall or sort of, but it never showed like, they fall, but they're still getting up. Never did we have a sense of sort of how much or how little was shooting them doing.
Yeah, it certainly was at minimum slowing them down.
Yeah, but again, never shown shown explicitly one way or the other.
Yeah.
And then so one of the guys, Jack, the glasses guy, how he's one of the ones who's demonized, is stabbed in the eye with one of the limited use daggers.
I like that.
That was great. But then like how he first and only one for this to happen to, I believe, first turns back into his human self after he's stabbed without it in his eye. Then he regresses in ages until he reaches not like after a baby toddler, he then turns into a dove.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, Elaine said something about like I saw his soul. Mm-hmm. So I guess his soul is represented by a dove.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna make a leap here.
Great. And then like you called him an alien, but I was like, why does Corey turn into a good demon? Is how I thought. He was like,
oh, okay, sure, yeah.
He looked like a good demon. You haven't seen it, but in the TV episode of Goosebumps Haunted Mask, it kind of looks like that.
It kind of made me think of like Alien Nation. You remember that show? There's this show in the late 80s, early 90s, probably, right around the same time. They probably just stole the fucking makeup from it, to be honest.
But yeah, why did he have to turn into this good demon in order to fight the grand demon? Why did they just do...
Yeah, it didn't seem to give him, like, powers per se.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, maybe it gave him kind of, like, resistant powers. Because, like, the evil demon, like, puts his hand on his face and it doesn't really do anything. It just gives him a little charm fingerprints on his head.
Right. Anyway, that's...
Yeah.
I could go on.
I mean, I really like there's a moment when Del, who's just such a douche, he and Terry have gone to sleep and he's like starts groping her in her sleep. He's like rubbing her boob and, you know, arm and like basically spoon humping her. And then she turns around and it's Demon Stacy, who's the magician. And he's all like fucked up. And it's a dream, you know, Del wakes up from this dream. But it's a really fun like moment. It's so cheesy.
Oh, it was great.
But it's so good. Because they had established earlier that Stacy used to date Terry. And there's this weird bullshit confrontation between the two of Del and Stacy. Stacy's a dude. And yeah, and then Terry's like, no, I'm with you, Del.
And then when Del and is it Terry finally decide, you know, they're to escape on their own, even though they know the wind's just gonna transport them back, they're at a fun death of getting like stabbed in the face. Oh yeah,
she demonizes and then she suddenly has essentially nails, like hammer and nails, 4 nails. And she just impales him awkwardly in the forehead.
So another great thing that's throughout this, which is your reaction to every time this happened, Tim, made me think like I was almost expecting a Rent It From You. But like I love the like totally 1990 like drawn on magic. Oh like, yeah. Lightning magic, whatever, exploding magic.
Blowing my mind.
Where it's just like so clearly just hand drawn whatever stuff. But every time it came on, Tim, you were like, oh!
Yep. Whoa, look at that. Yeah. Look at that thing that I keep not expecting to happen and it keeps happening.
It's great.
It's blue, it's yellow, it's just a cartoon.
Yep. I love the gross out fluids in it. It was like the white goop slime blood dripping out of their mouths.
Yellow blood when they get shot. It's just yellow goop. Yeah. I really love the moment when they're in the barn and Rena has just been eaten by the cow head skull tongue thing.
This is why it's a Rent It for me, folks.
And then Stacy and Chuck, the demon Stacy and Chuck, like come back in, which is all. You know what's great about this? All of the demons, like once they're demonized, they're still just people wearing the exact same makeup, right? Like everybody basically has been made up to look the same. They've kind of got pointy ears and they've got sort of like pink, bubbly, slimy faces, and they're all wearing the fucking same teeth prosthetics. It's pretty funny.
But then what? Yeah,
but they're themselves. Like they're wearing their costumes, right? Like Chuck still has his fucking trench coat on, and Stacy's still got his denim jacket on.
That's what's
just
so good,
dorky looking.
I love it though. Like getting to see them as their demon selves is so satisfying. Yeah, you know, like the glasses dude. Like when we see him in his demon self, and we just go,
has the glasses on.
Yeah,
it's like what the fuck?
Of course,
demons don't need glasses. Come on. So when they're in the barn and Chuck and Stacy show up, Demon Chuck and Stacy, and they're like, we're gonna get you. And then suddenly Corey and Elaine are like, oh, hey, remember we have these daggers. It's like, yeah, no shit. Why weren't you just carrying them around? So they pull them out and it really, really upsets Chuck. He starts making this noise that we couldn't even really like recreate, but it is a great noise. It's sort of like this.
Yeah.
He does not like it, and they back off. And it's just weird. Like everything about it's weird and like amusing at the same time. Because it almost, I think a lot of this movie feels like, as much as they obviously planned things out, there's a lot of like, just wing it. Let's just, here's what the scene is. Just go make the most of it.
Yeah.
Because there's such bad choreography of scenes, right? Like it's like that bad acting trope. It's like when you go and you see bad improv and there's just people standing on stage and they kind of don't know what to do, and then suddenly somebody gets an idea and they go, okay, I'm gonna walk over here and say something. It's that kind of vibe.
And you're saying this worked for you?
Yeah, because it's just like, it's just all fucking bets are off.
Yeah.
You just don't know what's going on. Like when the 3 little girls show up, Dell, the big fucking oaf, dork, douchebag Ken doll guy, he just walks up to him and leans down. And he's like, where did you guys come from?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not how you would react, right? But like, they didn't give him enough time to like think out how you would react. They're just like, hey, so these girls show up. Don't worry about how. They show up, go. And Dell's like, well, I guess I'll ask them how they showed up. Like, where do you come from? Right? Let alone the fact that like, obviously in post, they made them appear with the animated lightning shit. But like, clearly the actors weren't told that.
Yeah.
Right? They're just like, okay, now these 3 girls are here, go.
I thought that would be the first thing I asked them, assuming I saw them appear via magic. I'd be like, so wherever you just were, where was that?
Like the idea though that you're going to ask and they're going to answer you.
Yeah.
Hang on. We're here for another reason, but since you asked, let me explain the fucking other dimension we just came from.
Oh, well, since you asked.
That's what I love about, man.
It's just so fucking over the top and ridiculous.
The opening set it off great. It was fun. The opening 1931 flashback.
Yeah.
Where we have the mid-demon transformation, where it's like all the biles and warts appear, and then the teeth and pointy ears appear on him. The massive explosions you already mentioned. The conceit we already liked, the wind moving them around. How you said too, which I think we said earlier, how the films like this and this film function as a time capsule.
Yeah, for sure.
Their style, the how they speak.
Dell is wearing a primary color blue sweatshirt with a built-in collar and white sweatpants. It's just amazing. It's just like,
you said something about those white sweatpants.
I just was like, look at those fucking white sweatpants. They're just, they're amazing.
Yeah.
White sweatpants. Just think about that for a second. It's not like, it's a style choice. It's not practical. It's not like he put sweatpants on because he's going to run around. He put white sweatpants on because that was his idea of style.
Yeah.
Or the costumer put him in that. Like whatever. But that's the character. Everybody's just, it's so fucking out of control.
The casting too, just like these people's faces. Like, I don't know I don't know how to describe them aside from just when you're watching it and you go like, look at those faces. You understand what I mean. I don't know how to describe what it is about them.
I mean, it's a funny thing having, come up through, I think a lot of people don't, well, I know a lot of people don't have this context. So let me attempt to give it to you. Actually, here's the context that most people have. So everybody remembers high school, and everybody remembers the theater kids in high school, right? We all had them. I called them thespians because they were kind of they were always trying to fucking perform, and they're annoying. Like they're the musical theater sort of like, let's try to be the center of attention all the time. Those people. I'm not saying everybody
Weren't you one of those people?
Not in high school, no. And so they're just, they're the I need to be the center of attention people who like, they're the people who walk into the cafeteria and they like start singing and they like get on a fucking table.
What about them?
So everybody knows that person, right? There's sort of a graduation from that as we go along. So you go to college and you have those same people, but they kind of get like the edges sanded down a little bit because college is a little more like, hey, don't be such a fucking asshole. And then they go into the real world and they try to become actors. And some of them move to New York, or some of them do regional theater. And there's this whole gradient of like where those, dependent on certain factors like, you know, success, opportunity, talent, like those things push you into certain categories. And so there's these levels of how good you are essentially, or, you know, and that's somewhat subjective, but you land in a certain place. So some people end up, they're not good enough to have a career and they end up being like, but they still love it so much. So they end up being extras. And that's a very specific realm of personality. Extras have sort of they're an odd subculture. And then you have sort of the next tier up of like the struggling actor who it just never happens for them. And some of them are good, some of them aren't, but they spend kind of a lot of time believing it's going to happen. And there's this inherent desperation in them. And then there's the next level of like, maybe you had a little bit of success, but you're still you're sort of drinking the Kool-Aid of Hollywood, quotations. And then there's people who actually become very successful. And these actors all land in this very strange middle point where I'm like, they're acting badly, right? Like you can say they're not good actors, at least in this. And they feel like, to me, they're people who had been in Hollywood for a while. They're all like 35, right? Like nobody's really young in this.
Yeah.
Even though they're kind of playing these young archetypes. They're kind of playing 22, 25. But they're all easily 35. So there's this weird vibe where it's like they all probably have been around for about 15 years in Hollywood, living that 80s Hollywood life, getting like little co-stars and guest stars and stuff for a while. And this is it. Like they're peaking right now. They're never going to go above this, and it shows.
But like the guy's face, who's the magician guy.
That's right. Like he's a perfect example. He's weird looking. He probably tried. It's misplaced is what it is. That guy was told or believed that he was leading man, cool guy by Hollywood or by whoever his whole life. And he kept trying to do that thing, but he's not good and he's not better than the actual leading man, cool guys out there. And so he's just this weird dude.
But then that's sort of a different ilk where it's like you have a combination of these distinct faced peoples, and then Corey and Elaine, the main two, like they aren't as memorable looking, but it feels like Corey sounds so mean, but it's like the poor man's Emilio Estevez is kind of what he kept looking like to me.
Okay.
And then the girl Elaine kept looking like poor man's Laura Dern to me.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, there's something. Yeah. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like they're weird kind of cookie cutter or like cardboard cutouts of a whole swath of people who are trying to be actors. But I want to
put it as, so it doesn't sound like we're just keep bashing on the actors here. Let's bash on the filmmakers instead. It's more with the casting itself. Like forget, what we're saying about these actors, putting it on them one way or the other. But the film is the casting is the palette of colors that you're using to paint it your piece with, and it's just like as in with the writing and every part of the direction of films and films like this that I'm fascinated with and just can be so much fun to watch. They were just like going, what are you thinking with the casting? What are you doing? What is, I kind of get how you see it this way, but is this what your worldview adds up to? Like,
I just had a thought, and I think maybe part of it is this. There's nothing in the script that says what any of these characters are, except for the magician. But that might have been a construct that the actors brought.
And he's a kung fu magician.
Sure. I would venture to guess that like none of that was in the script. Mm-hmm. And that the director essentially said, you guys come up with your character. And this is it. Like, this is the result. When you're left to your own devices to just come up with a thing, like, you know, one guy, you go into the fucking wardrobe department and you go, hey, that trench coat looks cool.
And
let me be that guy.
So then he's the magician one is the only one who sort of brings it to a more...
yeah, he fucking went to the corner with magician costume and he was like, can I do this? And the people are like, bro, you could do whatever you want. We don't... Like, we have not been told anything. Have at it. Just grab whatever you want.
Incredible. I love the line. I love the line. Many lines in it. The one I remembered. We have beer, Coke, water, and goat's milk. Mm-hmm. Talking the woman
Satan, baby.
A woman at the diner.
Satan.
I loved the little stick girl.
The inexplicable stick.
Just the kind of...
The inexstickable. Get it? See what I did there?
Who's just sort of an ominous presence pointing at them with a stick.
For 15 seconds.
As their car drives past on the way to the gas station and leaving the gas station. And then she shows up at the end again and...
Demonized.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Anything else you want to mention about what worked for you?
I mean, just the absurdity of it. You know, to be honest, actually, there are some shots and sort of like set vibe, sort of the feel of things that I really like. Like toward the end when the demons are all kind of closing in and they've made it inside the house and we're in this kind of scary hallway. And they're busting through. Like, I like the look of that. It feels cool. It feels like creepy and desperate and, you know, like they're fucked. But visually, I think it just feels good.
I liked them walking, like, it was cool, them walking in where we see the profile of the wall. That's the entrance to the barn, and they walk through.
I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't say I'd seen it before.
I also like you mean the house itself, right? The ruined house?
Yeah, just, you know, that...
Later, when they go to the actual barn with the Satan, the altar to Satan, all that stuff, the set deck of that is really nice. Like, there's chains and shit hanging. It's this, like, there's old, like, farm gear or whatever. It's lit fucking pretty well. Yeah. Like, it looks cool. Now, they don't look cool in it because they're awkward, right? Like, it's kind of a wider shot. And so it's like people in a wide shot that are lit well in a place that's supposed to be like dark and scary is odd. It's always sort of odd looking, but like the set decoration of that was cool as hell.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of hodgepodginess to it that like it's almost really good. There's a high to low shot when Elaine, I think she's running in to get the book or the dagger into the room that Jack is in. Right as he's become a demon, and it's a really cool shot. Like it's got fucking like style, and there's like a ambiance to it. It looks cool. So there's a weird sort of paradox to me of like why only like these little bits looked cool, and so much of it looks just schlocky as hell.
Probably just whatever random shots that they had time for.
Yeah.
Or like decided to put more time into,
right,
or just there was a moment of inspiration that the DP spoke up, or who knows.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously enough money. It's one of those things where it's like you have enough money to build these sets.
Yeah.
You know, and that's cool. They like most of them look pretty good. Although it still has that made for TV, like there's like a very fine line of set decoration or construction really that really speaks to low budget. Mostly you see this in 80s TV where it's like they built things out of 2x4s and plywood, and that is it. And there's a bunch of these still in LA, right? Like when you go to like, there's when we were scouting for this one film, we wanted kind of like a western town with a little street, and like you can make that shit look good. You can zhuzh it up to look good, but what it actually is just pieces of plywood that's been painted.
I loved
and it gives it a cool. To me, it's like sort of nostalgic.
The fake out, and I mean, again,
right? Yeah, I did want to mention that.
Did not add up to anything or need to happen at all. Like everything in the movie, this is great.
Well, it's like what you said earlier.
Out.
It's just they grabbed a trope.
Yeah, so
right?
the fake out like, where it's like it's as if they're at the worst moment. He's fighting against the biggest evil demon at the end. Then all of a sudden, it's like he's waking up to the moment when they're all still alive, when they first walked into the barn. Oh, it was all a dream. What happened? And then they turn into demons.
Yeah,
and
just kidding, wasn't a dream.
And then we're just right back in where we left off. And he's none the affected any differently. Like,
well, I mean, it's hanging a lantern a little bit on that idea, because early in the movie I was like, it's gonna be fucking dumb and it's all gonna just be a dream, right? And I think a lot of people, that was a thing that was happening in that era of this style of movie too, where it's like too often we ended up it just being a dream.
So it's like you have to do it no matter what, and then you just sort of make the decision haphazardly whether how much you're going to go with it or not.
yeah, you just throw it in there and then say just kidding.
But then it was nice to get the actual defeat, and then the final gas station ending tease, final demons to defeat.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, you know what else I really liked? The mistakes. Like they're there. They're on screen. There's some really fun ones.
Oh, I like the one I only saw the one at the beginning of when the car is pulling up at the gas station.
Yes.
And then to get their mark to stop, there's just the sandbag right there that they drive into.
In shot, totally in shot. It's just right there for everybody to see. Yeah, like later when the demon is being defeated, we had established that he's got these goat hoof feet, right? But when he's like falling on the ground in slow-mo and like, I think there's like flames and shit or whatever, you can very clearly see the costume like flaps that were covering his actual boots just flopped up and his black boots underneath. It's like little things like that. I just fucking love, because it's just like, we don't have time or care enough to fucking cover this or do something about it.
That's a pretty great one.
Yeah. It's just like, there's his shoes, that actor's shoes underneath the goat hoofs costume.
All right. Now, this should be interesting for a film like this where everything bad is what worked. But now
I know.
Now can we move on to what did not work?
Sure.
All right. What did not work?
It's not ready yet.
Seems to work okay.
No, something important's missing.
What did not work?
So, in defining kind of however the type of film that this film fits into for me, I was trying to define, I can only look at in terms of how would this film be a better one of those films.
I thought about this too.
Yes. How do you be better, more fun with the casting, more fun with the inexplicableness? That's the way I frame it. And the only thing I came up with was I wanted more of Old Man Harcourt.
Sure.
And more of Stick Girl.
So, sure.
Bring her back in, have her just be with them, and just kind of this weird, like, she's kind of bringing she brings the daggers. I don't know, something.
Sure.
Or she's a new threat. She was just so fun. The casting, her casting was so on point for the film I'm trying to, like, describe what it at.
Right.
She and Old Man Harcourt are, like, just staples in this kind of film I'm trying to define. So more of them would have been more fun.
Yeah, it's a interesting quandary, I guess. Like, I don't remember how far into the movie we were, but I did have this thought. I'm like, if I want to make this movie, how do I make it the way, like, what does that look like? What are the story elements that are there that I would want to use and like expand upon? Because there's such a just a fucking pile of a million different things going on. It's like, what would you reduce it down to make it cohesive and not confounding? And ultimately, a lot of what I kept thinking was like, it's just it's Evil Dead 1 rehashed. Like, that's the problem with it, is that like there is a movie that did the honed in version of this. It's fucking Evil Dead. And so,
but honed in on a angle.
Exactly. That's what I mean. And so I'm thinking, well, what else? Like, what else could you, if you don't want to do that because it's been done, what do we have in this movie that's worth trying to do that with?
It wouldn't be this movie.
Exactly.
This movie is the hodgepodge movie.
Yes. I know. So I don't know. I mean, I guess theoretically Cabin in the Woods kind of is doing this movie a modern way.
Wait, so tie this back together to what did not work for me?
For me?
Well,
just that you saying like this idea of the version that of your, like the things you would want in your version or whatever.
See, so what you're getting at, I would describe it as how you, okay, if you're trying to define what are all the types of elements in this, of the different kinds of movies, I would say, how do we add in even more kinds? You know, how do we make it even a bigger hodgepodge? Not that it...
Well, yeah, to me that's...
Not that I wanted that, but as far as the kind of angle you're looking at it.
Right. It's a really hard exercise for me because I'm so bound, or not bound, but like I'm such a fan of actual story. Like cohesive, this is because of this.
You came to the wrong movie, Tim.
And this movie doesn't have it, so it's like, so what do you do? It hurts me to watch the shit that I'm just constantly going, what the fuck? And so that's what doesn't work for me. Is like, as much as I understand what this is, I hate it.
So as much as, you are maybe having fun with the moments, there's still that part of you that's dying inside from the total lack of cohesion.
Yes. A horrible death.
That's funny. See, I just, that total lack of story cohesion is just, I'm just on board. I throw up my hands.
Yeah, I want rules because I like it. It's cool to have a thing pay off. I love that shit. And this movie has absolutely no rules and no payoff. Like nothing wraps back around. Even the shit that, like, you know, traditionally you have this old guy character and he comes back and he's involved. Even him coming back makes no sense at all. They're not tying anything together. They're just adding. Yeah. It is literally just a stack of added ideas constantly with no rules. And that actually really it just hurts me. I can't, like, it just makes me crazy. So, like, you know, the moments are fun and funny, but it's a shit movie.
You'll never have to...
Like, I fucking hate it.
You'll never have to watch it and pay attention to it again. You can just have it on
That's very true.
At your
like, I want to make sense of it, and you can't. So then that's the paradox for me, is that you, like, trying to accept that is hard.
Those are my favorite, like, art house films. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but we've watched movies that seem sort of purposefully go off the rails, like
Possession.
And they are amazing. And I think it's because they're
coming at it intentionally. That's a big difference.
Exactly. That's sort of why I went on that weird diatribe about actors, is that because I have lived in that world and been around that, and, like, to a degree am one of those people, it's painful to watch mediocrity when you have opportunity.
No, it's like, if I had watched this movie today, I wouldn't have been into it. Maybe that is why when we go see movies nowadays that are just so bad, because I associate with these people not as just like the time capsules we put it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more dissociated from them being actual people, as kind of horrible as that sounds. It's more like this film is dug up from the archives. It's congealed into its entity, its individual film self. I'm not gonna, like, feel bad for the actors all in it, you know.
Oh man, I do. I do.
There's the part of me still, but when it's in 1990, it's you can more look at it as just its own thing.
Well, it's a similar feeling that I get of the like when you watch American Idol and the kid, 17-year-old kid shows up who's been told that they're the shit, or they have this self-belief that they are a good singer, and they are not. They are unaware of how bad they are. And I really, it makes me feel sick to my stomach. Because I'm like, fuck. You just don't know. And I think that's actually a scary emotion. Because you're gonna get reality at some point, and it's gonna fucking hurt. And so there's a part of me that looks at these movies like this and the acting in it and stuff like that, where I'm like, I give them credit because I think they're doing what they can, they're doing their best, but they don't maybe know how shit they are. And I hate it's I don't even want to say that. They're great, but they're bad.
Yeah. We're borderline things of note territory. Can we just move on to that?
The one other thing I wanted to say, even though I like moments, the actor, Corey, he's so vacant. You know what I mean? He doesn't, some of the other actors do this too in the movie, and so it seems sort of like a directed thing. But he blankly stares into a conversation, and I hated it. I wanted him to our lead to have a fucking personality.
No, it's they went the direction of he's the straight man serious one. He's the Leonardo who is actually the most boring and is no one's favorite.
Yeah, that just sucked.
Right. Being the main one isn't a personality.
That's right. It sure isn't. Yeah. Personality is personality. Yeah. So that's really it for me. I mean, it's a fucking mess. But,
right.
you can have fun with a mess.
Things of note.
This should be interesting.
I got one ready. Lou Diamond Phillips was an uncredited demon.
Yes, and Lou Diamond Phillips.
Why?
He was Richie Valens in La Bamba, an actor.
There you go.
I learned that tidbit as well on the website SeanVersusBmovies.com. I was looking at his entry on A Demon Wind. He mentioned that tidbit as well as this. The film went into production between January and February, and the weather didn't cooperate with freezing temperatures and winds that would topple over sets, causing the filmmakers to revise the script on the spot.
Shocking. Yeah.
I thought it was kind of funny where I feel like in our living in the sort of horror circle in the horror universe, reading, digesting all that as we do, and I've heard the term Evil Dead knockoff a lot.
Well, I say it a lot too.
Okay, so exactly, talking to you in my horror circle. But never could I really point to one.
Sure.
Too clearly. Evil Ed now, but
Yeah.
still, I couldn't clearly do it. But this one was just so obvious from the daggers, the possessions, the cabin in the woods.
The book.
It's moments even... the floating monster, them appearing out the whole outside to inside cabin, when someone's against it, someone's grabbing them. I mean, all that stuff has been done before, but it was just kind of funny seeing this is Evil Dead knockoff. Okay. I can think of a clear one now. Well,
and it's 10 years later ish. No, less.
Evil Dead was 82, right?
Yeah. So 8 years later.
Yeah. I have to mention, Tim, the tagline. Do you know what it is?
Demon wind. It comes from within your bowels.
No. Demon wind. It'll blow you away.
Oh, God.
Amazing, right?
Can I sigh harder? Oh, God.
All right. No harder than that, though.
No.
Okay. Now, should we wrap up Demon Wind?
No.
You have more
Big
things to
question
note?
that we had. Where was it filmed?
Oh, yeah.
Right? We were like, man, it's sort of like, is it NorCal?
It looked like
It's
it could have been Europe, too.
Yeah, it had this just sort of rolling green hills.
I said it
and
looked
whatever.
like almost like the Beetlejuice area,
Yeah.
wherever that was shot.
Thousand Oaks, baby. Just over the hill from us.
Awesome.
It's just a little bit west and in the valley. I actually think I know, because when we looked for like ranches and whatever for a couple different films, I think I know basically where this is. You know the Paramount Ranch that's like west, right? It's that area. So you're on the north side of the, what would those be? The Malibu Hills, I guess.
Yeah,
sort of?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should look at all the films we've watched, see which locations are kind of, accessible in a day. And then, Tim, we if we get our YouTube channel going,
There you go.
We do the location visit, and we put Demon Wind on the top of the list. I bet you we will be the first to visit.
I mean, it's actually a really pretty area. Like, I want to go check that out.
Location visits are fun. They're
Fuck yeah.
adventures.
I wonder if there's any remnants.
That's what we gotta find out. What, the gas station, the barn itself. all
Oh,
that.
man. The crucifix.
I bet you we'd be the first ones.
Yeah, we'd probably get there and like the actor who played Corey would be like standing there just reminiscing.
Yeah. How incredible would that be, though?
Remember 30.
We have been to one filming location.
That's right.
Especially we went to the Poltergeist 2 house. If you dig back in our Instagram archives, you can see a little video we showed there. But yeah, we should do more of that.
Yep.
Okay, now we can move on from Demon Wind.
Sure.
All right, we'll move on from Demon Wind to our RecommenDEADtions. Now, Tim, do you have anything you'd like to recommend?
I do. So I'll preface this by saying I've always been a fan of the Terminator series. Obviously, this is not like fucking a newsflash. The first two are great. Third one is meh.
I'm a defender of the third one. I think it's pretty good. Nowhere near as the first two, but
No.
I think it's pretty good.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, it is what it is.
Arnold.
What's the fourth one? Salvation?
I think so.
That's, maybe got some kind of fun ideas and it's got some good visuals, but it's not
I
that
haven't
great.
seen them past that.
And then after that, we had the one called Genesis, which is kind of a mess. But, okay. Kind of fun with old Arnold, Terminator Arnold, old whatever, and new Sarah Connor, maybe. Okay. And then the new one, which I had forgotten about, which came out, like 4 months ago or something like that?
A little longer than that, but yeah.
Nobody fucking talked about it. No, certainly nobody I know saw it. Like, nothing. And then it dawned on me the other day. I was like, oh, wait, what, like, did that movie come out? And it's on fucking demand. Like, it's on available. So I watched it. And before I watched it, I was like, is it worth watching? So I looked it up a little bit just to see if people were like, this is utter garbage. And they weren't. They're like, it's actually kind of fun. And they're right. It's fun. The fucking, what's her name? The girl who plays the sort of the young enhanced, like from the future person that's helping is so good. She's such a fucking good actress. She was in *Halt and Catch Fire*, which I think I recommended once, which is an amazing TV show. Mackenzie something, I think is her name, but you can look it up. I'm not going to. She's great. What's her name? Linda Hamilton is fun. She's not good.
Probably the last
But
time she's ever gonna.
Yeah, but she is fun. It's fun. Like, and I will say this. I think that, there's going to be a bunch of conservative dickheads, let's call them. Just people who want things to stay the way they've been, right? They're the people who get mad that, a black guy gets cast as a traditionally white comic book character. It's like, get over it and fucking move on. This movie speaks to a lot of that stuff where, like, the new savior of the human race is a diminutive Hispanic woman. And like most of the movie takes place along the fucking Texas border. So they're like border patrol.
Say
There's
more.
people
I
in
don't want to know
cages.
anything else.
That shit is good. And I think it's a really good fucking framework for a franchise that could have just gone, yeah, we'll just blow a bunch of shit up again and have Arnold show up. You know, so like I commend them a lot for making this movie. It didn't really get much of a response, whatever, but I think it is very much worth seeing, especially if you like any aspect of the Terminator
I
movies.
was already hearing similar things. It was on my radar amongst
There's
friends of
some
mine.
fucking awesome action scenes in it.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I haven't been watching. I've been watching stuff, but none of it seemed good enough to recommend Dead. So just pulling one from the archives. I don't think I have. I love the few shows I've ever just binged was on Comedy Central. Nathan For You, the reality comedy. We were talking about pranking earlier.
Oh my God. I remember hearing about this.
It's incredible. Like it's sort of, I love things that are taken to the nth degree where
Yeah.
he starts out with an idea, it's comedian, and then uses that and sort of it builds onto itself. He brings back people who are real people from other episodes, and then on top of just being really smart, sort of criticism. I think I heard it put as a criticism on late stage capitalism, where the whole conceit is like he's trying to help these failing businesses, and then just in doing so, kind of digs up all that's kind of broken about it as inherently as a system. But then on top of all that, he's really just sort of, it takes us all in LA. So he's finding, like aspiring actors, musicians, just, everyone and anyone he's meeting on these adventures, but really like brings out the humanity in them all in these sort of idiosyncratic but heightened situations.
Well, can you describe essentially what the premise is?
I mean, that's what I just kind of did, I guess, where it's Nathan is he comedian, and he sets up he's the jumping off point is as if it's a show where he's trying to help businesses.
Okay.
And then and then in doing so, or like individuals, and then in doing so, with crazy just kind of like, how do you say, like doing things you never ever actually do because
so he's coming up with like completely outside of the box ways to help.
Yeah, like there was one that was where it was something about how to send things cheaper or something like this. This is why I had to pull from the archives. It was a few years ago when I watched it, but like in an attempt to be able to send things cheaper, figured out that if you got something designated as a musical instrument, you could do so in the way he was wanting to.
Yeah.
So he's trying to send fire alarms that way. And then he like legally has this lawyer he goes back to. So like find out what you have to do to legally get it defined that a fire alarm is a musical instrument. So he gets together this like band, from Craigslist, all these locals. They perform at the Shell station I go to. And like on a truck, and like record a single where it's like one of the instruments is this that's the worst sound in the world, where it just comes in every few beeps. They're like rocking out, and he presses it. It's just like that horrible beep happens. Yep. And you can listen to the song and everything, but then
oh my God, that's funny.
And trying to get it legally defined as a real song,
right?
It just that's an example of the nth degree taking it to. But I don't know, his brain just works similar to mine as far as just like taking what ifs for as long as they can go.
That sounds fun.
I wanted to be brief there, but you were curious, so
no, I think it's worth delving into.
And I think you would appreciate it, Tim. So you should start from the beginning. 4 seasons on Hulu and Comedy Central.
Okay.
All right. Now I think it's my turn for next week's film.
Oh man. What's it going to be? We only have like 6, 7 left.
I can barely feel them here.
By the way, we're going to finish the hat by before we get to episode 90.
Oh, great. So
get ready.
Refreshing it soon. All right. Dark Waters, 1992.
Oh, yes.
What?
I know of this movie. I may have seen this movie.
Or 94, maybe?
It is, I think it's got, what's her name?
No, 93 is what it says here, so.
what the fuck's her name? She was in Labyrinth. The girl from Labyrinth.
Oh, no, Tim. This is older than that. You're thinking of Jennifer Connelly in the remake of Dark Water.
Oh, okay. This is different.
This is 92, 93, 94.
How could I make that mistake?
This is something else.
Wait, what is it? Now I'm very intrigued.
I don't know, but we'll figure out next week here at Dismembering Horror for episode 81. And in the meantime, you can find us at dismemberinghorror.com.
That's right. Yeah. You can also hang out with us on Instagram.
Yeah.
And by hang out, I mean look at stuff that we post. And you can send us messages. I don't care. I'll answer it.
You could request a film.
Oh, yeah, you could do that.
And our big ask, if you enjoyed this, you should leave us... leaving a review. No one's done that when we've asked. Of course, that's great if you leave us a 5-star review. But we asked to tell a friend.
Yeah. What else? Oh, you can email us. Go for it. It's at it's dismemberinghorror@gmail.com.
Yeah.
We got one of those.
Great. All right, I think that's it.
Is that it?
Yes.
Wait, are you sure that's it? No?
In closing, you can... In closing, thank you for listening.
And we will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.